I am Michael Jackson Heimos for Santa Monica's Morgan Wixon Theater, here with a talkback conversation with Thomas Brown. Tom came to the Morgan Wixon in the early 90s and spent a couple decades designing sets, taking on the role of technical director, and was elected president of the theater. During his tenure as president, he started our first website and began cataloging the history of the shows we did at the theater. I'm looking forward to chatting with this behind-the-scenes family member of the Morgan Wixon. Hello, Tom. Thanks for joining me today.
Thanks, Michael. Thank you for having me.
Looking at Facebook, I see that you are from Atlanta.
Yes, I am.
Were you always interested in theater in Atlanta?
No. Initially, I was going to be the next Picasso. I've always had an interest in drawing and painting. My mother tells me since I was 2. And so when I was in high school, all the folks there, with teachers and students, realized that I like to draw. I like to paint. So all of my friends and would-be friends had me draw pictures for them that they'd send to their girlfriends and boyfriends. And all the teachers had me do all the bulletin boards for the school. At some point, the drama teacher said, "You know how to draw, can you help us with the set?" And I said, yeah. And that began my relationship with theater, helping out in high school with the sets. And then when I went to college, once again, some folks in the drama department found out that I really knew how to draw. And so they had me do their design homework for them. And and I thought, okay, it's no skin off my nose. I've been here before. But eventually, one of the teachers found out that I was cribbing some of their notes. So the teacher came up to me and said, "You stop this, and if you don't, I'm going to report you to the dean. And in addition, you now need to come to my class. You need to participate in my class." So for better or for worse, I started taking classes with the design teachers there at the University of Georgia. And I found that over time, theater took.
When did you make your way to LA?
Through a series of events, I ended up teaching in Atlanta at Spelman College, and I taught there for 10 years. I taught set design and technical direction. At some point, after 10 years of teaching there, I realized, Michael, that I was getting stale. I had become comfortable with the ways in which I had taught, ways in which I did things. And some quiet voice in the back of my mind said to me, if you really think you're all that in 3 bags of chips, you need to really challenge yourself with working with the big boys and the big girls. So I began to realize that I needed to move on to challenge myself either in New York or California or some other city in the United States where people were really putting in good hard work. And that coupled with the fact, Michael, that at some class in which I was teaching intro to theater, and because I had been so accustomed to teaching the way I was teaching, I had to teach the intro to theater class about working in the professional world. And I hadn't been in the professional world. I'd been teaching for almost 10 years. So I cribbed my notes there by talking to my friends who were already professionals. And at some point in that lecture, one of the girls whispered really quietly, but really succinctly and fundamentally for me, bullshit. She somehow felt that I was not speaking authentically. I was speaking from some other people's lifestyle. And so that was the crowning event that made me realize I'm done. I need to move on. I will never stand in front of a class again and be inauthentic. And so I then made a commitment to get a graduate degree, and I ended up at UCLA. I moved from Atlanta to UCLA to ostensibly get a graduate degree in theater set design.
Now, not only do you design sets at the Morgan Wixon and other LA theaters, you also design sets and things for film and television as well.
I did, yeah. When I got to LA, I was truly aroused about. While I was still going to classes, I had the opportunity to design for network television, for cable television, for independents, for live events, concerts, all different kinds of things. And so I really took advantage of that a lot. At some point, I ended up having a long-term relationship with BET Television. I, I sort of had a situation where I could have gone either full-on union, working for NBC as one of their in-house designers, or helping BET Television, Black Entertainment Television, at that time was developing itself, was becoming a thing. And so I met them when they wanted to have someone in charge of their design and technical production services or programming. And the relationship took for 10 years. I was the in-house designer for BET Television, which I really feel proud of. I really feel like we sort of made a difference, and we helped to grow the network.
Do you prefer designing for stage or television more, or are they both the same for you?
They're similar. While they are similar, there are some distinct differences. And to put it in a nutshell, I believe that theater affords me, while they all allow me to create these things out of nothing, I create images and take ideas and make them real. In theater, distinct from television and from film, I think one has an opportunity to be more involved in the artistic process, to be more involved in the real collaborative process of making art. And that is unique, I think, to theater, because it's relatively small. You're dealing with a small, even in terms of what you create, it's on a small little black box in a room or maybe outside. And you're trying to you're not making reality, you're not trying to compete with reality, rather you're trying to evoke a sense of connection and a sense of metaphor with what you do. And for some reason, that process, distinct from television and film, where to some larger degree, you're trying to recreate what reality is in the world. But in theater, you're trying to make the art form make us all feel, the performers and the artisans involved in the project, as well as the audience, feel that we're connected to something larger than what we see. And so I find that fascinating, although not as profitable.
I also know, besides designing sets, you're a really wonderful scenic painter. Some beautiful backdrops and sets. So your original goal or dream of being Picasso seems to take place there. Do you still do, shall we call it, fine art on the side, or did the road take you completely to set design?
It became difficult to find time to do the fine art, because for me, I find that doing the fine art requires a certain level of contemplation, a certain level of steeping oneself in a concept or in a vision, and letting it marinate into a series of visions. And in doing theater or live event or even, film, TV, it's such a fast-paced activity that's a constant draw on your time and energy that it's been difficult to find the time to contemplate. Although I have had the opportunity, a wonderful opportunity, to instruct a number of other people who can find the time to contemplate their art. I've had the opportunity on an ad hoc basis to have people come to my home and in my backyard, which is rather somewhat large. We have had painting sessions in which I basically blather on about this or that and how to use this technique and how to play with that. And people try it and they say, well, that kind of work, Tom, I'll use it. Or they say, oh, forget you. I'm just going to do my thing. So, and that's been wonderful. That's been wonderful to do that. But and they've been also making me very jealous that I'm not doing it myself. But one of these days when I get to be, in a wheelchair, perhaps I'll get back to painting.
Well, for any of our viewers that would like to see more of Tom's work, you can go to thomasbrownltd.com and see more about it. Tom, thank you so much for joining me today. It was great.
Thank you, Michael.
And we'll see you again soon.
You bet.